But I can tell you that we've logged very close to 15,000 client sessions at my gym. Do the math on how many people has been through. I've seen a lot of testing and I've seen a lot of patterns, and there's something going on. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. Why? I don't know how my iPhone works internally. I just know how to use it, and I know that it's very easy to use. And I think the body is really the same way. Like, I don't know why this range of motion testing works, but I know that it does work.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. So do you think that gives a fair high level overview of it?
Yeah, I think that gives us a good overview. We'll dig a little bit deeper as we go on through the call. I wanted to share kind of my first experience with it. Our mutual friend Logan Christopher
Yeah.
is kind of in the same camp and doing a lot of the biofeedback stuff originally with you and Frankie. And he came home, and we actually live in the same town for a long time, so we would go work out together, and he was showing me this stuff. And of course, me being the guy who I wanted to quantify everything, so I built this thing that you stand on that tells you how many centimeters when you're doing the bend
Right.
for it, like all that
Yep.
stuff. And that's just the way I kind of tinker with things to try stuff out. I'm not
I do
such
too,
like,
actually.
yeah. So I'm not such a guy that likes to stick to things for a long period of time, which is why I like the concept of intuitive training. So I was having some shoulder troubles, Dave, and I was doing some intuitive training stuff, doing some testing, and the only two exercises that my body agreed with for 30 days was a heavy dumbbell one arm row,
Okay.
coincidentally for volume over and over and over again.
Okay.
And then I don't know if you're familiar with the Turkish get up and press. So
Oh,
where
of course. Yeah.
you press in each one of the 7 positions of the Turkish get up. And
Yeah.
within a month my shoulder didn't bother me anymore. So it was almost like a frozen shoulder thing happening, and that deadlift pulled it back and the Turkish get up put it through all these ranges of motion. It was so interesting to me. And so I think
Yeah.
it's such a cool technique. Maybe you could describe to us just like a session, like if you somebody to go in and like just test it, kind of like, I know it's hard to describe, but just do your best to describe it.
Oh, it's pretty simple. So I'll take you through like what we do with our clients at the gym, because this is another thing. People are like, oh, well, you could do that on your own, but you could never do that with a group class, and we do it every single day. So you come in, and there's a program planned out on the board. We usually start out with something like explosive, some sort of power exercise, like let's say some cleans. And then the next thing will be something, a superset typically, like let's say a squat and I don't know, some sort of like hamstring exercise.
Okay.
And then the third superset will be another strength exercise, like let's say press and maybe some ab or anterior core work. So you come in and you're going to clean. Okay, well, what you're going to do is you're going to check your range of motion first, so you have your baseline. And then you'll test out dumbbell clean, kettlebell clean, and barbell clean. Okay, so you have 3 fairly different patterns, even though they're all clean. So you've got the dumbbell clean off the floor, just like a dead clean, and then kettlebell clean with a swing, of course, and then a barbell clean, which is now not only a different tool, and not only is it it's bilateral rather than one side. So you've got very different patterns. You test all 3 of those, and you do the one that tests the best. Okay, so now you're done with your cleans. You go on to your squat. We'll have them test out 3 different squats, and usually it'll be like 2 symmetrical ones, or one with asymmetry or rotation. Sometimes we'll throw that in there. A lot of times we notice people need more rotation in their daily lives. So we have them test like at least one thing with rotation per workout. And then 3 hamstring accessory exercises, and they'll just pick the one that tests the best. So the way that this plays out is really interesting. The only rules we give anybody in the gym are stop before it gets hard in terms of reps and stuff like that.
No, Dave, you've just
Yeah.
killed intensity.
Totally. Stop before it gets hard. So, they'll come in and they'll do cleans, and lo and behold, they'll do 3 to 5 sets of somewhere around 8 to 10 reps. It depends. Maybe they go heavier, and they check their range of motion after each set. And lo and behold, after the 4th set, it stops. Like their range of motion is worse. Okay, so they move on. And it's funny how this works out, because we have all these people going through at the same time, but they all last about 8 to 12 minutes. Like no one does any exercise for more than about 8 to 12 minutes. So everyone falls into this window. They just move on to testing the next thing. And so basically what I'm saying is, you've got a program. You've got something planned out for the month.
Idea.
We plan in a 5-week block, but you're going with your body's feedback on a daily basis. So I don't know if you should barbell back squat 3 weeks from now, but I can reasonably say like you should probably squat. That'll be fine. And then you test the individual exercise and see which one tests the best.
Awesome. What do you do for people if they're doing some sort of testing and nothing tests well?
We give them an alternative, and that's where we come in as coaches, really.
Right.
It's one of those things where I know every single one of my clients, and within a few weeks, I know their history, how they move, what they do on a daily basis, and I can immediately say, do this. We used to have one girl who did a lot of CrossFit despite training with us. She also did CrossFit,
right?
And she would come in, and none of the deadlifts would test well because, of course, she had done some stupid fucking WOD,
hammering herself on.
Yeah. So instantly I would go test reverse deadlift. So it's this weird, like basically arching extension exercise. Martin Rooney demonstrated it a few years ago, and he got ripped so bad on YouTube that he took the video down. But it's a great exercise, and it's kind of the opposite of a deadlift in a lot of ways. Boom, instantly test well. So basically that's where we come in as coaches, and we say, oh, I know you. I know what's going to be good for you. And we give them a suggestion. And usually like the first or second suggestion is the one that's going to be best for them. So yeah, the short answer is nothing tests well. Either go home or change it.
Yeah. Sometimes going home is a little better, right?
Dude, I send people home every once in a while. I sent somebody on a walk one time. I said, you need to just go for like a 45-minute walk. So here you go. Here's a sweatshirt. Go.
Here.
Yeah.
Put the Garage Warrior podcast in your ears and go for a walk, take some deep breaths and smile, right?
Exactly. Because you know what? The goal is to make people better. The goal is to not put them through an arbitrary workout. So if they walk in and the best thing for them, the thing that's going to make them better is a walk around the block, then that's what they're going to do.
Have you ever told somebody to take a nap?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have a massage table in our treatment room, and I have actually sent somebody I've sent someone to nap before.
Sounds like you're a preschool teacher now, right?
Yeah, for sure. Here's a snack and a nap. Here's a little juice box.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So Dave, you've had 15,000 client sessions. You've got to have people coming in through there for several years now. What are some of the big things that you see that maybe we're claiming are, high intensity training is the way to go. Everybody's got to do strength work and stuff like that. What are some of the big things you see us constantly repeating in the mainstream media that you found might not necessarily be true?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a loaded question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is a loaded. Man, what? I don't know that if there are any absolutes. Okay. Like, I really don't know if there's anything. I mean, there's obvious stuff like eggs are bad, like eggs aren't bad.
Right.
But, exercise wise, I hear a lot of things that are mainstream. Like people will come in with a preconceived notion of something. For example, they'll come in and they say, hey, I have lower back pain, but I know it's because my core is weak.
Right.
And like they've heard that or they saw it on some news program.
Right?
Yeah, and they just repeat it, and it's like, no, your core isn't weak. Your entire body is weak. You haven't lifted anything other than 50 pounds, or heavier than 50 pounds since high school, other than the couch that you moved 6 weeks ago, and you probably herniated a disc. Like it's. So I'm going to cop out of that answer.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like there's anything that's like absolute, like this is the thing people are being told that's wrong.
I'll twist this around a little bit and see if I can pry some answers out of you. So
good.
You mentioned people lasting 8 to 12 minutes, kind of in that 8 to 10 rep range. One of the things I noticed about myself is as much as I wanted to get into that 5 sets of 5 mentality,
yeah,
I'm just not there. My body's never really liked it, and I tend to float in the singles or sets of 8 to 12, maybe 15 reps. Have you noticed that with your clients?
Yeah. Everyone is different, right? Sure. There's some people who absolutely thrive on volume, and then there's some people that need to go heavier and much lower reps. I think you'll notice that it'll change. Like, have you always been that way?
No,
or is
no.
that?
Actually, I've had periods of time where it just felt like singles were just like the only thing I should be doing. I'm just going to go out there and do 5 deadlifts and then take a shower and call it a day. And then there's other days where I'm like, oh, I need a total volume of like 100 reps on something in order to make it feel like I got to, like that's what I needed for the day, you know?
Yep, and that's what it ultimately comes down to. Is it's going to come in waves and periods. I had a CrossFitter come in who was stuck on all the major lifts, and he wanted to put 50, 60 pounds on his deadlift. And so all I had him doing was doubles and triples. Every time he came in, I'm like, dude, I want you to PR in somewhere between the 1 to 5 rep range. Like you need to be doing a 1 rep max or a 5 rep max at a new weight every single time you train. And he did that for like 4 months and put 50, 60 pounds on his deadlift just like that. Somebody else on the other end of the spectrum that hasn't been doing a ton of volume might need a lot more volume. Like just practice, just groove the pattern, just do light deadlifts. That's cool. You need the reps, know? So yeah, it definitely comes in waves.
Yeah. So one of the things you're really well known for, you just mentioned it, Dave, is deadlifting.
Yeah.
He's the deadlift guy. So I remember like a couple of years back seeing you do some deadlifts. How much do you weigh? You're not very heavy, are you?
No, I'm usually around 190.
Okay, so that's relatively heavy, but you're not a super tall guy or anything like that either.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm like 5'10", maybe 5'11" on a good day.
Yeah, 5'11" with some Nike Frees with the heels on them and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
190-ish. I've put on some muscle since I first started. I mean, I was like more like 175 when I pulled.
I think that's what I'm remembering right now.
Yeah.
Well, how much are you pulling right now?
Well, right now, I mean, I'm not probably at the best.
Last PR or whatever,
My best ever is 605.
Yeah.
So I've pulled 605 in the Jefferson. I've pulled 605 sumo, and I've pulled 590 conventional, which at all times have been triple body weight pulls.
Right.
And then I've pulled 570 behind my back, which I think was actually at 175. That was actually a while ago. Yeah, they're not like world record weights, but they are pretty significant deadlifts across several variations.
Sure.
Other than the Jefferson, that actually happens to be a world record.
Oh, cool. Very cool. I remember you and Adam Glass training a long time ago, and you guys were doing things like deadlifting some variation every day to improve that lift. Can you explain how that works? Because that's pretty contrary to what we hear, which is like, deadlift once a week, go super heavy, and then stop.
Yep.
But you guys were doing something completely different.
Yeah.